And we need a few things this morning, and amongst them is a setup for a reclined bound angle pose in which I was hoping to start the practice. So I've placed the block down flat, I've placed one halfway up. It doesn't mean that you have to have blocks whatsoever, nor do you have to have a bolster. But if you've got all of those items, set them up like this. I like to place my head a little bit higher. Doesn't mean that yours needs to be higher as well. You could, for example, take a thick book and just place that under one end there, and then choose, for example, a rolled up mat or a rolled up blanket to place across. So whatever you are choosing here as a setup is not so important. If you don't have any of that, lie down on the floor. This is fine as well. So please don't stress about things that aren't around you right now. But if you've got all of that, this will be our starting position. So lying down over the bolster, first of all, allowing the arms to drop out to the sides. And please, if this makes you feel uncomfortable, you can rest them on the body. And sometimes after a while, you might be able to let them fall out to the sides once you're a bit more relaxed. And of course, then touching soles of feet together. With this setting, if there's any pain arising, be that around your lower back, the hips, the knees, you might want to pop something under the legs to support this shape. And if it's not for you at all, you could always step your feet down and maybe keep the legs a little bit wider. So even closing of the eyes is just something that you could do, nothing that's essential to do. And if you feel the eyes closed makes you rather nervous, you could instead steady your gaze somewhere against the ceiling that you're looking towards. So entirely up to you, just finding a way within this shape where we're lying down, we're bringing a bit of openness into the shoulder area and the chest, and where we're applying a bit of openness around our hips as well. And once you've got that, let yourself begin to rest into it. I will, for the time that you are resting there, start to play a mantra. So if you like, you can listen to that mantra. Maybe just allowing this mantra to wash over you without knowing much about it for now. noticing if you're able to drop a little bit deeper into your body. Narayan being a form of Vishnu. This form of Narayan is linked to the water element. The water element is linked to winter. We're inviting that element of water into our practice today. So while you're allowing to listen, this mantra is helping us to create inner peace. To create a flow within our lives, within our practice. Just like water flows, so can we invite ourselves to flow. To flow through life, to flow through this day, to flow in our practice, to notice the obstacles that we might find, and yet we just flow around them, integrate them into our flow, rather than allowing these obstacles to hold us up. I will return to this very same mantra towards the end of our practice today, and we'll use that to complete the practice. But for now, while you might still be resting within the shape that I suggested here at the beginning, let's take our mind from the mantra into the breath completely. If you feel this position is entirely uncomfortable, you may instead also sit up. I suggest to keep the arms open if that's available to you. Let us breathe in deeply. Hold the breath within the body. And breathing out slowly. Holding the breath out of the body. And then breathing in again deeply. Holding the breath. Breathing out slowly. Holding the breath. And then we start again. So there's an inhale and there's an exhale and there's pauses between all of them. And if you enjoy visuals, you might breathe in up one side of a box. Hold as you come across. Breathe out the other side. Hold to come back to the starting point. So if you choose to work with the box in your mind, it's an inhale up the side of the box. A hold as you come across. Downward movement of the box as you're exhaling. And then holding the breath again as you come back to starting point. So up the side, across, out breath is downwards, and then across again. I will leave you to create your own pace. Stick with the breath, maybe with the box as well. And once that's becoming a bit more familiar, I suggest then that you start a count as well. This box is usually even in the sides, but if a hold of the breath is rather stressful for you, you can shorten this hold. It could even be just a little pause between the breaths if that's what works for you. But otherwise, you might have an even count of 4 on the inhale, 4 to move and hold the breath across, 4 on the exhale, and then even 4 when you're holding the breath out of the body. So making your choice, and the choice is entirely up to you and how you're feeling at this moment. Ideally 4, 4, 4, 4, but sometimes holding the breath is stressful. Sometimes it's too hard to breathe in or out for a certain length, and we'll bring another variable in. But maybe finding something constant within your breath if it's not the box. And I invite you to stay with that for another 3 full breaths. When you completed your last round, assuming that you are reclined in some shape or form, maybe bring your knees up first, step your feet a little bit apart, rest them down and feel the ground underneath your feet. Then turn the palms of the hands down onto the floor by the side of your buttocks. Push down into the mat, tuck the chin in as you're lifting yourself up to sitting. And that construct that I will call a bolster for now, just place that to the side. Leave one block by the side if you've got one, or a cushion. The other one can go out wherever it's required. And I would ask you to just lie back down onto your back. To have your arms down by your sides now, the feet stepped in towards the buttocks, but at hip distance apart. And yes, we're moving up into a bridge, just allowing our spine to move for a moment as we're squeezing the buttocks, and an out breath comes, we're lifting the hips up. Hold here while you inhale, try and lengthen your tailbone to the backs of the knees. And then as you're breathing out, slowly rounding your spine back down onto the floor. We'll do that one more time as we tilt the pelvis on the inhale, squeezing the buttocks on the exhale and lifting our hips up. Now, please remind yourself that your body is still reasonably cold, and you could have your block just flat down underneath the sacrum if you choose, or if your body allows you to halfway up. As you place your sacrum down onto the block, just relaxing the arms again, allowing to feel that light pressure underneath, and noticing how it makes you feel. If this isn't for you, there's lower back pain and something's not quite right, you might want to try and push the block down so it stays away from the tailbone. In that case, I suggest you lengthen your legs out just to let the spine hang down and increase the length in your hip flexors. However, if you felt comfortable resting the block underneath the sacrum, I would ask you instead to bring your right knee up. If possible, taking even a hold of the right knee and drawing that in towards the chest gently. If this feels right, you could extend your left leg out. And with that, we're getting also a lengthening here through the hip flexors, if you like. And just holding your right knee tucked in for a moment, nothing else to do, just creating a bit more space in a different direction to what we did before when we were resting the body down on support. To release, I suggest to release the knee first. Stepping that onto the ground and then sliding the left foot up. Take a pause. Don't worry if you're not doing that with the knee. Extension is fine as well. And we will change sides if that's working for you. Left knee coming into the chest. Just hold it there for a moment. And then if you do choose to, you can let your right leg come out long. And don't assume just because you are able to do that with the left leg that it's the same here. You can choose variations as you discover yourself and as you discover your body. Holding here, noticing the sensations and where maybe your flow is hitting an obstacle, where there's a bit of tightness, and just breathing through that. We'll release in the same way as we did on the other side. So the left foot might step down onto the ground and we can step the right foot up afterwards. Letting your arms return by your sides. Squeeze your buttocks, lift your hips up, remove that block from underneath, hold for a moment, tailbone moving into the backs of the knees here. And then as you're exhaling, rolling your spine gradually down onto the floor. I'm asking you from here to wiggle your feet and your knees to touch, and either open the arms or even place your hands behind your head. And then starting to rock your knees from side to side. Keeping your knees stacked, so we're just moving through the lower back really. Knees touching, feet glued together as we're going from one side to the other. We will allow our knees to come and rest on the left-hand side. You might want to push your hips a bit more towards the right as you're resting here. And maybe even placing your hands towards the lower abdomen on the side of the waist. We're doing a few lifts up. So as you're exhaling, maybe lift the upper body, look over the side of the hip. And as you're inhaling, lying back. On the exhale, lifting up. On the inhale, lying back. So the lying back is optional. If you insist, you can keep the upper body lifted. But the out breath is essential, as is the in breath. And if you choose your out breath to be out of the nose, that's fine. But maybe to strengthen further, breathing out of the mouth instead. One more. Then lie back down. Take your hands across as you roll onto your left-hand side. And then a big breath as you draw a half circle into the air and opening the body out to the other side. So now adding a twist through the whole spine. From there, guiding your knees up. And you might want to just push your hips a bit to the left, stack your legs again and let them roll to the right-hand side this time. Where we're placing our hands again towards lower abdomen, side of the waist. Same movement here. On the exhale, lift your upper body, look over the side of the hip. On the inhale, come back. Exhaling to lift. Inhaling to lie back. Same here, you can breathe through the nose if that's your preference. Otherwise, maybe out of the mouth. Just to go deeper into your core. Keep going just for a few more in this way. Nothing changing, just moving. Each out breath a tad bit further. Maybe a higher lift. Next one is our last one. As we release back down, let your left hand come to touch the right as you're rolling to that side. And then draw a half circle up with your left arm as you take a breath in and bring it all the way across in a deeper twist. I will ask you to bring your knees back up and then bring your knees over your chest. Taking your hands to your knees as you breathe out, squeeze them in. As you're inhaling, move them away, and exhale, squeeze them in. So there's a light rocking of the pelvis occurring. And you can choose, if this isn't quite enough for you, to actually hug the knees in and to begin and rock forward and back. Not yours today, just roll over to your side and find your way up. When we come to sit, I invite you to straight away come onto your hands and your knees. So as usual, when we come to the stance, the hands are about shoulder distance, just slightly forward from underneath your shoulders. And your knees are about hip distance apart. We've moved mainly through the spine, so we've got a bit of allowance here to take this deeper. See if you can ground down through your whole hands, actively, tops of the feet, shins. And then let's take a breath in and just lift the right leg. And then placing that back down. Just noticing how much shifting of weight is happening. Do the same with the left leg as you inhale, extend the leg back, and just notice how you're standing here, how you're holding yourself, and then placing that back down. Now we will change the limp as well as the breath. When you are exhaling, lifting your right arm. Inhale now to hold. And exhale to step it back down. And again, please notice the things that occur in the body. When you're next exhaling, lifting your left arm. Hold. And then release that again. For a brief moment, stretching your hips back towards your heels. This will all make sense in a moment as we come back up onto all fours. So we're holding here as we're inhaling. And this time, if possible, on the exhale, lifting right arm and right leg. There's a lot of balance. We're holding here for the in-breath. And then on the exhale, taking both of them across to the left. On the inhale, center. On the exhale, landing again, hand and knee. Let's sit back towards the heels before we try the other side. Just a bit of a stretch back. And then returning onto all fours. As you inhale to stay, and then when you're exhaling, trying to lift left arm, left leg, hold while you're inhaling, and swing them both across on the exhale. On the inhale, center that again, and on the out breath, land that back down. Once more, just stretching back towards the heels. We use that as a little counter action. As you come back up onto all fours, we will stay again steady on the in-breath, lifting the right side up on the exhale. And if you're just lifting the leg and the arms separately, that's fine too. As you exhale, swing across. On the inhale, come to center. On the exhale, land that again. We'll do the other side first. So we're breathing in and staying. And on the exhale, lifting the left side. Inhale just to hold. Exhale, bring it across. Inhale, come to center. Exhale, release, hands, knee down. Stretch back to your heels. We'll practice that for one more round. Let's come up onto all fours. Waiting for the exhale to lift the right side. Inhale. Exhale to bring arm and leg across the body. Inhale, come to center. And exhale, stepping back down. Waiting again for the exhalation to lift the left side. Inhale to hold. Exhale to swing across. Inhaling to center. And exhale to release. And again to sit back towards your heels. Pause here for a moment. Come up onto your fingertips. Let the shoulders open. Taking a lengthy breath for the spine. And then walking your fingers across to the right. Increasing once more the length in the side of the body as we did with the movement. And then walk your hands to the center and across to the left. And finding length in the right side. Walking hands back to center into your extended child's pose. And let yourself surrender there for a moment. Allowing a deep breath in and out. Your next inhale, come back up onto all fours. We'll remain here for now, finding some steadiness again in our stance. We will go back to that feels more natural. As you're inhaling, lifting the right leg. And as you're breathing out, just drawing knee and nose together underneath. If you need to help that foot forward, please help it forward. Otherwise, just stepping it there. We will place our hands upon the thigh and start to lift the upper body. Now I will turn myself the other way around so you can see me more easily. We will reach up with the left arm on the in-breath. And we'll follow that arm with the gaze on the out-breath as we're pointing it backwards. As you might look towards your thumb here, watch that the front knee doesn't fall inward. If you like to increase this shape, you can place your left hand into your lower back and start to create a half camel, as you might lift not only the heart, but also the gaze. Too much, keep your gaze gentle and just lift through the heart. Not deep enough, you might want to reach with your left hand towards your heel. Careful with your body. If you've reached for the heel, bring your hand to your lower back. And we'll all start lifting back up into our stance. I suggest you swing that left foot behind you a little bit out to the side for some space. And while you're taking a breath in, just lifting both of your arms. And as you're exhaling, let's circle the arms behind the back and maybe interlacing the fingers there. Drawing the arms down the back as you inhale, lifting through the sternum, maybe chin and throat opening up. And then as you're exhaling, leaning down towards the inside of the knee, maybe arms lifting away from the back. A kneeling, humble warrior shape. If the arms can't lift off the back, rest them down and gently bend the elbows, brushing your hands across the lower back. That's your alternative. We will all release the interlace of the fingers, stepping the hands back down and bringing the foot back. And as you're exhaling, sit buttocks towards your heels. On the inhale, coming back up onto all fours, finding a strong stance on the exhale. While you're inhaling now, lifting your left leg back. And on the out breath, bring your knee and nose together underneath. Stepping or helping your foot forward between the hands. You can place your hands back on top of the thigh, lifting yourself upright. We're taking a breath in to lift the right arm. And as you exhale, circle that back. Again, you could keep your hand there, just looking over to the hand. You could also watch the front knee so that the foot there at the front is active, doesn't fall anywhere. You can choose to go deeper by placing your right hand into the lower back and beginning to lift through the sternum, creating your half camel. If that feels good, lift your chin, open chin and throat. And if you still want more, you can reach with that right hand towards the right heel. Only options. More important that we keep lifting through the heart space and open across the front of the torso. If you've lowered your hand, bring that back into the lower back as we come up again. Now, this time it is the right foot that we might want to swing a little bit backwards. And we're taking an inhale to lift the arms again. On the exhale, circle your arms out and maybe changing the interlace behind your back. Drawing bring the arms down as you start to open through the front, maybe lifting chin and throat again. And then as you're exhaling, fold in. If your arms can't lift away from your back, the same here. Bend your elbows softly and let your hands interlace as they are. Just brush across the lower back. Otherwise, keep your arms lifted, head low, a kneeling humble warrior shape. And then releasing the hands again. Swing the foot back. Now let's tuck the toes under. Lift the knee off the ground and step your foot forward. From here, we're engaging back with the water element. As you take a breath in, come to the edge of a waterfall or strongly supported half lift, hands or fingers pressing into the leg. And as you're exhaling, let the water flow back down. On the inhale, rise, straighten your spine, edge of waterfall. On the exhale, let the water fall down. Repeat that 3 more rounds. Just doing that, lengthening the spine, coming to the edge of a waterfall and breathing out. Let everything soften, the water flow down. 2 more. Find your own pace. Once you've completed those, hold your forward fold for a moment. Keep your knees bent if that's what's required for you. And on the next out breath, engage your lower abdomen and start rolling up slowly into standing. Lift your shoulders, gently shrug them back and down. Besides the mantra of Narayan, there's also a mudra that works with the water element. And this mudra is very simple as we're touching our thumbs together with the little fingers. I invite you to practice this mudra while we're coming into a tree shape. So we're standing on both of our feet and we'll begin with the right foot. You could just rest your heel up. You can place your foot anywhere. Most of you are very experienced with the practice, so wherever you would like this foot to be, other than your knee joint, is fine. Lengthen then once you found your spot, right from the ground upwards to the crown, holding thumbs together with your little fingers. And if you can find balance, why not extend into branches? Your branches can be high, they can be lower. Just noticing where you're at today. Steady your gaze straight ahead of you. Let your breath be flowing rather than holding because you're balancing. Finding your stance. Just like the tree feeding with water, feeding from the sunlight, from the earth, the nourishment comes. So do we need all of those elements and highlighting today? Do we, the element water? Let us lift the knee up, release the mudra. Bring your hands into your heart and just stepping your right foot back into a lunge. Taking a breath in to lift the arms. And while you're breathing out, let your right arm lower. And you can follow it with the gaze, similar to our half camel variation. We're keeping the chest open. And if you like, open throat and gaze as well. And if you're looking up, you might place your thumb back to your little finger. Let us lower the heel from here and take a breath in to lift the right arm. And we will complete a humble warrior as you circle your arms behind to interlace. Draw long and open through the front on the inhale. And when you're exhaling, fold down towards the inside of the knee. If you can lift your arms away from the back, fine. Otherwise, elbows bend and hands brushing again across the lower back. And let your hands release down either side of the foot. Lift your back heel again. Step the foot to the front. Come to the edge of a waterfall as you inhale. And let your water flow down as you're breathing out. Hold it here for the inhale. And with your lower belly engaged, curling up on the out-breath. Take the shoulders back and shrug them gently down as you arrive, finding your water element mudra again, thumbs touching to your little fingers. As you come to stand, your gaze becomes more steady again. And we're starting to lift our left foot. And you can place that in your chosen tree variation. Just that reminder that we're avoiding to place it against the knee. So you're finding your steadiness in your tree. Let's grow that tree again from the base where we're standing on to the very crown. And if that's appropriate, bring your branches with your mudra back up. Allowing yourself to be steady, strong, nourished within your space, inviting the flow through the body. And as you take your next inhale, let's lift the knee, release the mudra. On the exhale, let's bring the hands to the heart and stepping the foot back into a lunge. Keeping your front knee a little bit soft. We'll extend the arms on the breath in. And we will now circle the left arm back. And we might follow that hand with our gaze. If you're enjoying the half camel variations, you can lift your sternum here and your gaze, and if you like, come back to the mudra in the top hand at least, as you look up towards it, if your neck allows you to. We'll lower the back heel, take a breath in to lift both of the arms. And as you're exhaling, circle them back around and behind you. And when you find your interlace, you might change the finger you had on top, lengthening the arms down, opening heart, maybe throat and gaze. And as you're exhaling, moving downwards to your humble warrior. Arms can lift again away from the back. Or you place your hands back down and massage your lower back instead. Let's release the hands down to the mat. Let's lift the back heel off the ground. Step the foot forward. Again, rise to the edge of a waterfall on your inhale. And then let the water flow down on the exhale. And this time I invite you to just hold this standing forward bend. If you choose to widen your stance, that's perfectly fine. I'm just doing that here as well. We'll keep it very simple today. So fingertips resting down onto a block or the floor, or even the palms of your hands. Keeping your shoulders lightly elevated so they're resting in the shoulder sockets. The head is hanging down. Your gaze might be in between the knees. And the weight sits forward within your feet so the tailbone is high, while your hands are straight underneath your shoulders. allowing stillness and steadiness, while you could imagine that the water is still your upper body and flowing downwards. Two more breaths here. After those two breaths, I invite you to place both knees down, keep them apart from each other, and come to stand on the knees. So invitation here is to a camel shape, which means we will start with the hands in the lower back. Let your fingers point down towards the floor. Bring your shoulder blades that little bit closer together. Engage into the buttocks muscles and start to lift again from the sternum, same as we did many times for the half camels. Only if your neck is okay with that, lift your chin forward, guide it up and bring it back. Keeping your front open, you could reach for your heels if that's within your range of movement. Again, don't force, just do what flows. Feeling now a flow of breath over the front of the body. Last breath in this shape before we just bend the hips. And as the hips reach back towards the heels, the head comes up and we're sitting ourselves down. Now I suggest today to place your hands down by your sides and to just carefully lower the head towards the ground. If this is enough, please stay here. Otherwise, keep your chin tucked in and roll up to the top of the head with your hips in the air. If any of you want to take this further and know where this could go, and you know your shoulders are strong and your neck is healthy, you could tuck the toes under, lift the knees off the ground for a tripod stance, and even progress from there. There's nothing you really have to do. I just encourage you to keep the head low for a few breaths. One more breath here. Then releasing the shape by sitting back onto the heels, so you can stay there if you rested there, but we'll bring the head up a little bit, and with that onto stacked fists. Allowing yourself a few breaths just to rest here. On the next out breath, use your hands again and arms into the ground to roll yourself up to sit, and let us extend both legs out long. If you like, you can place something underneath your knees, such as a cushion, a block, maybe your bolster, if that feels right. Flex your feet, nevertheless, lightly. Lift up through your spine as you're inhaling. And we'll just lean forward into a relaxed forward fold. We've just done the same thing standing. So while you might lower your head to look between your knees, keep yourself moving forward from the hips rather than rounding too much downwards. A bit of rounding here is okay. And if you would like to increase that, because you're quite low, you might tuck your forehead a little bit in and increase the stretch across your back line. Same as with all, there's no force, but there's still the flow of your breath. While you inhale, just lengthen your spine forward now. And when you're exhaling, start to roll down onto your back. If you need anything to keep you warm, have that ready, or on your body, depending. And we'll bring both knees up quite wide and we hug them in towards our shoulders. This is leading us into happy baby. So I give you the gentler option first. Change your hands to hold on behind your thighs and lift your feet up so your ankles are lining over your knees and your knees are more or less facing the shoulders. Have a light flexion here and just draw both knees down. If this is enough for you, perfect. Otherwise, you might bring your arms to the inside of the knees and take a hold of the outer edges of the feet instead. Same here, we don't want to force. We will just extend to the point where we're still at ease. And maybe over a breath or two, that ease becomes bigger and we might be able to catch the feet then, but it's not essential. I would just ask you to hold with your knees towards your shoulders and your ankles over your knees. If you feel movement is appropriate, you can pull on one leg or foot and then the other and create a bit of rocking sensation from side to side. Then find your stillness again, releasing your feet in, stepping them down towards the ground. And I'm hoping that your body is at ease right now. If it isn't, there's little movements you could do as you find your relaxation shape. And please feel free to use any of the props we've used earlier in this practice, such as a bolster. You might now place that underneath your knees. If you had a cushion nearby, you might want to place that gently underneath the head to support you and to feel soft. As you come to rest there, you might choose to close your eyes. Allowing yourself to be still for a moment. Letting the practice sink into your body-mind. The body, allow it to absorb. While you're resting, I will tell you a little bit more about the mantra with that, the effect of working with the water element. If you're facing tough times, the mantra suggests all we need is love. Well, there are some things we have to acknowledge. Among these are negative things. Darkness comes into our lives at unpredicted times, whether from our own deep subconscious or prompted by external circumstances. Challenges can be overwhelming sometimes. We want to be at our best always, and yet at times we slide down into stages of being at our worst. Many say that love is all we need, and so that alone will pull us through. True, especially as we grow and learn to love and aspect ourselves without judgment. Yet sometimes we need a boost, maybe even a big boost. Well, with this mantra, you can get that boost. You get to put on your boxing gloves and hop into the ring, knowing you'll win the battle and return yourself to positive mind. This mantra might do both. Beat back the darkness and bring up the light of clear and positive mind. So I'll ask you in your restful state of Shavasana to take a couple of breaths that are deeper, more full. And from there to find a way into a seated pose, maybe even supporting that seat with cushion, block, bolster, in the least disturbing way for yourself. And as you come into whatever seated position is right for you, as long as your spine is upright, you could lean even against the wall. You could even sit on a chair. I will ask you to sit upright and tall, to rest the backs of the hands onto your legs somewhere, and to touch your thumb to your little finger. So we're coming back to that invitation of the water element. And as your eyes are closed, you will notice that there's energy flowing through the fingers, and that flow of energy might have shifted with the mudra. I will once again play the same mantra, and you can choose to either just indulge in the mantra, the mudra, and its combination and its effect on you. Or you could even, as the words repeating themselves over and over again, start and join in the chanting of the mantra, if that's for you. And that chanting can happen out aloud or silently, as might be appropriate for you.
Sat Narayan Vaheguru Hari Narayan Satnam 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 Sat Narayan Vaheguru Narayan Vaheguru Hari Narayan Satnam Narayan Vaheguru Hari Narayan Satnam Narayan Vaheguru Hari Narayan Satnam Narayan Vaheguru.
Keeping the eyes closed for a little bit longer. Releasing the mudra from your hands. Acknowledging the flow of your breath. Taking a deep breath in as you reach your arms up. Bringing hands together down at the heart with the subtle bow of the head. As we gently extend our awareness to each other, namaste.